cultures.
every we have poets, who they are poets I've never heard of who've come to read it off the wall. They're brilliant. They are Nothing's a given, so it's making the space for people to read their stuff.
Do you consider rap to be poetry? Audio poetry, maybe.
There are people who are gifted with, gifted with rhymes. They got something to say. I don't have a strong point of view.
Do you think it is a poetic form?
I guess it's a kind of. It comes back to your question about lyrics and poetry. Sometimes it feels like a very fine line, and the musicality inherent in good writing, that translates one way or another, and so it works in the context of, if you've got a melody, obviously it helps to have that in the picture as well.
But that's the thing with rap, there is no melody, so everything is relying on the words.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are just really inventive with language, and who am I to say,
I mean,
I just know what I like,
LKJ is the only person I can think of whose musical backing is actually good.
I like LKJ.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got good music behind him. It's not just the words.
Yes, but the words create a forcefulness of their own, I think. I'm just thinking if there's anything else.
You might have heard that one piece of his. I was a top-notch poet. Yeah. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, he's certainly. I have him in my collection, my own collection.
Okay, anything else within the red wheelbarrow you'd like to mention?
These are things which are probably known to a lot of people by now, but we have a blog. So
let the people know, and then I'll put the written link as well.
So the blog is very simple, minimalist sort of thinking behind it. It's just a representative. It's a bit like what you asked me to do earlier. You just get a sense of someone's voice, and you put that. It's just a poem that they may have read or may not have read in the reading that they gave. So it's becomes this archive of different.
Is that now in written form or spoken form?
Written form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever have record what people recite and put that up?
We do record the readings.
As in MP3s or whatever?
I'm not sure what the exact. I think the format at the moment is just the format that you get, that Zoom allows you, the video and the audio.
Okay.
I'm not involved in any of that.
So there's like a video, in other words.
Yes, but I know Off the Wall has an audio and a video, which they make available.
Okay.
And they also put it out on radio, which is a great idea.
What about a podcast? I was just thinking.
All things are possible. I'm just not at the forefront of how these things work.
Okay. Because a podcast is basically live, and you can.
Yes, I mean that's certainly.
You just need a central mic, and everybody speaks.
Yes,
you don't need to go around with a.
Yeah, I think what was also important to me was to get people's consent, because not everybody wants to do this, and so at every point I think you need to do this with someone's consent.
Sure.
And there are people who don't, they're not fussed about it one way or another. And then there are people who maybe only want to share reading with a friend who didn't make it to their reading. So, which is fair enough. That's their choice. Yeah. It's their stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who have you got lined up? Anybody special in the next few weeks?
This week is very exciting because Melissa is reading. So the Red Wheelbarrow, it's Melissa Sussens, it's Nonwe Mpuma, and it's Jacques Kutsia and myself. So Nonwe's already read. It's exciting, obviously, because she's part of these are people who are all as obsessed, as crazy as I am about poetry.
Sounds good.
In their own way, and extremely talented. And so she's reading. At the end of the year, we've got Rustam Kazane, we've got Robert Burle. People just have to look on the the fake book page.
Okay. I like that fake book.
And yeah, I mean, I don't run that, so,
Yeah.
so that yeah, there are a lot of exciting things to look
Yeah.
forward to.
Just
and-
a thought suggestion
Hmm.
that popped into my head. Have you ever thought of having theme evenings? Like telling people that the next time we meet, we're going to talk about trees or the
that's,
sea or.
that's a great idea. I don't know. One of the good things for me about being involved with the Red Wheelbarrow is it's very much a democratic process. There's a collective decision making about everything, and
That could make it very
so
interesting.
I'll run that past.
Yeah.
I'll run that past everyone. Yeah,
You just choose a universal theme and
yeah. I mean,
say next time we meet, we're talking about
yeah,
writing about trees.
but that
whatever.
list. Yes, I agree with you. That list of people that I read is just a way of saying, you know, there are so many people whose voices need to be heard. And some of them are no longer with us, some of them are, but there literally isn't. There are 54 slots in a calendar year, so even the Zoom readings are not enough to accommodate. So I'm hoping for some parallel thing with in-person readings and Zoom readings.
Okay.
But that requires time and energy and
Yeah.
commitment.
So you just do this once a week, I take it?
It happens once a week on a Thursday at 7:30. There's a link for the reading that anyone can access. There's an email circular which gets sent around. You can be added to that. There's a link on the Facebook page to each person who's
And
reading.
anyone who wants to join can contact you?
Anyone can just click on the link and they can, you know, and it's not predictable. You know, there are of course the diehards.
No, but if they want to take part in the next meeting, they should contact you first.
Yeah, myself and Jacques essentially invite the poets, and so.
And if they would like to take part, then they should give an example of their work, or.
Well, it usually helps if you know the person, because otherwise it become impossible if someone just pitched up and said, I want to read, you know, there has to be some some sort of, because other people come to these readings as well.
Yeah.
So you want to give people a chance, but that's why I said earlier, in a sense, you act as a gatekeeper, which is not something that I relish, but it's.
Yeah.
It's
no, what I'm
it's
saying
part
is.
of what makes the thing work, you know. You have to keep things varied and surprising. And,
No, what I'm saying is someone might want to take part and you realize afterwards, but they're not a poet at all. They just.
Well, the open mic is there for people to test out their stuff, and that's something which, off the wall, you know, made possible. It made this space possible where you could read out your stuff, and if you're not convinced by it yourself, in some way, or it's just a useful. It's a different. It's more the listening part of.
And it's a good way to judge what others think of it.
You get a sense when you read it from yourself and from the response. You know, sometimes people are just polite, I suppose, and they say that was great. You know, and sometimes they mean it, and sometimes they don't. So,
I don't know if you know the first reading Bukowski did.
mm-hmm.
It was in a cafe, coffee bar.
Yeah, I mean,
he had, when he started, there were 25 people. Before he finished the first poem, they all walked out.
Okay, I can believe that.
Nobody. He recited he did 20-minute recital by himself.
That comes back to frame of reference. People have got an idea in their minds about what constitutes poetry, doesn't constitute poetry, and so if you get people reading and you have different voices, that sort of makes you question your assumptions about what poetry is. And, so
and
he was doing something which obviously didn't agree with people's assumptions.
Yeah. No, that brings a very interesting point. Do you believe in free speech, or if people want to swear in their poems, can they?
Freedom is almost built into poetry. Without freedom, I think it's part of what makes poetry work, because poetry is essentially anti-authoritarian.
Yeah.
It's
so if people want to swear in a poem, then they're welcome.
Well, it's up to them, but I don't know how many people will be listening to them if it's just
obscene. Yeah.
Well, people generally don't gravitate to things that, if someone has something to say, that's different. And if they put in the F word every 5 seconds, at some point, or whatever it is that you regard as obscene, because that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But freedom of expression is a really important part of poetry. But
Yeah,
whether it actually
one would think.
holds up as poetry, if someone, if it's a gimmick, no one's going to pay attention.
Yeah.
To get boring. So I think these things sort of sort themselves out.
Okay. You raised the interesting point. I mean, freedom of speech and poetry should be one and the same.
Well, I think what poetry does is it gives, not that I'm, know everything about poetry, but my understanding of it is that it gives voice to things that couldn't otherwise be said. Otherwise, why bother? What would be the point of going here anyway? And that's an important part of any culture, any literary tradition. So things come through which are, part of, I guess, the collective psyche, if you like.
I heard an interesting quote the other day. I can't remember the exact words, but someone said something to the effect of, when the average person speaks, it's in black and white. When a poet speaks, it's in color. I just thought that was beautiful.
Well, it's a metaphor, and that's the beauty of poetry, is that you, through metaphor, you can end up saying any number of things. I mean, something might look more beautiful as black and white to someone than color. It just depends on your frame of reference again. So
No, what I was getting at is poets describe things better.
I
mean, I've read a poem and lyric and whatever, and I thought, so that's what it's about.
It's a way of seeing. It's a way of seeing through or into, and it depends as much on the listener or the reader. So in the same way that someone who is good at putting something across pays attention, listens in a way which is sort of crucial to anything happening at all, that's only realized obviously in the mind of the reader or the listener. So if someone gets what you're putting across, then so if someone is a good listener, a good reader.
I think what poetry does is, it, for people who don't think that way, it gives them an insight into how things really are.
It's awareness, really. It's like a heightened awareness, and
because poets are obviously receptive, and the average Joe Soap isn't, maybe.
I think anyone can be a poet, actually. But I get what you're saying. There are people who are oblivious to, well, a great many things, myself included. But it's just awareness. I would say you create awareness, and part of the interest for me with poetry is what comes out. You can have your world confirmed in all sorts of ways by everyday transactional speech. But what comes out in a poem is often it's a mirror. It's a mirror. It holds a mirror to you. It holds a mirror to the world.